Hello and welcome to the Sonic Cinema Podcast. My name is Brian Scuttle and thank you for joining me at www.sonic-cinema.com as well as the Sonic Cinema Podcast YouTube channel. You can also check us out on Apple, Google, and Spotify podcasts as well as other podcast formats. And you can check me out at patreon.com/Sonic Cinema. I've got a couple fairly big pieces coming this month, one to make up for last month and one for September, which I've been putting off for a year and a half because the movie they're inspired by has been put off for a year and a half, and I hope you enjoy that one. And that's at patreon.com/Sonic Cinema. And I also do hope to get the Twitch stream back up at twitch.tv/Scuttle Lemur. I know this past month has been pretty light on that for a variety of reasons, but I do hope to get that back up. I was hopefully going to do some stuff this past weekend, but it just didn't happen, but that's fine. And that is at twitch.tv/Scuttle Lemur. So it is Labor Day, and as per usual, Dragon Con has come to an end. It was really good to be back after a year. As much as I enjoyed the virtual Dragon Con last year, and you can see my video where I talk about what I did during the virtual Dragon Con last year, the YouTube channel, it was really good to have it back as a public experience. And it's something that I truly missed last year, and admittedly, it was still a bit of a risk for a variety of reasons, namely the surge in the Delta variant in Georgia especially, but it's also, and naturally that brought some anxiety to my wife and I, who, we're both high risk for COVID, even though we're both vaccinated. But we still very much wanted to do Dragon Con this year, and we set up camp on Thursday at the Hilton Garden Inn, which we've stayed at most of the time we've gone over, and it was a really wonderful experience, and that's what this podcast is going. That's what this episode is going to be about. That's what this podcast is usually about on the week after. The week after Labor Day. So, first of all, I do want to thank the volunteers and everybody who did as much as they could under circumstances of having fewer volunteers and just a very considerable logistical discussion having to be made in terms of how to regulate things, in terms of making sure people who have badges are also either fully vaccinated or have had a negative COVID test in the 72 hours prior to the con. And they did as good a job as possible, even though it did take me 2 hours to get my badge on Thursday, but I know it took people longer. And I applaud them. They did as good a job as they could, I think, with the number of people they had. And it was one of those things where I think overall I'm pretty happy with the experience at all as a whole. If I would offer one piece of criticism about this, is that I don't think I would have liked to have seen more in terms of social distancing in the actual rooms for the panels. Didn't really see too much of that. They did a great job at the Walk of Fame. They did a great job at photo ops, and as well as the vendors. But overall, I think as far as the rooms, I understand they're still dealing with a lot of crowds, but I was under the impression that they were doing more in terms of social distancing than it seemed like they ended up doing, because it was still pretty packed in there, or at least the chairs were. But nonetheless, I think overall the feeling here, especially with the capped attendance, was fairly positive. I think they did as good a job in terms of keeping people safe as they could, and I like that. I appreciate that. I might have still come down with something, but hopefully it's just some run of the mill con crud as opposed to something worse. Um, but I did make sure to wear a mask every time I was indoors, unless we were eating. And it was even outside. I continued to wear my mask because of the fact that it's like I wanted to get used to it. And so with that, this Dragon Con for me was more about just kind of taking it easy and just kind of being careful throughout the weekend while still having a good time. And I think I can honestly say for both myself and my wife, we accomplished that. And on Thursday, like I said, it took us a couple of hours to get badges, but I have a feeling, and this is just sort of my theory, I have a feeling that a lot more people tried to get their badges on Thursday that we've ever seen try do that at Dragon Con before. And I think the pent up excitement for the festival, for the convention after being off for a year, even though they did a really wonderful virtual version last year, I think that really got to people, and I think a lot more people were like, get me home. I want to get home to Dragon Con. I think that's a big part of what caused Thursday to be such a lengthy process for so many people. So on Thursday, we got packed up early in the day. We drove down. Like I said, we ended up going to Hard Rock on Thursday, which ended up being a very good choice because it's usually packed, or you usually have to wait a long time to get to it. And when we saw the length of how long the line was, and it was as long as I've ever seen the line for registration, we decided, you know what, we're a bit hungry. We're going to go ahead and eat first and then come back. And it was really a smart choice because of the fact that to get food in our system before that process was good. So we ate at Hard Rock on Thursday. Then we got our registration. Didn't really do too much after that. We just decided to go check into the hotel and basically called it a night. And honestly, that was kind of what we needed and kind of what was good for us this particular Dragon Con. So that was basically our Thursday. Thursday was relatively short, but it was still enjoyable. And so Friday, we basically decided to start off at the vendors. There really wasn't anything we wanted to do early on. So we went to the vendors, and it was still pretty lengthy to get there first early in the morning. But one of the things I did on Friday, for the first time since 2014, I actually did cosplay this year. If you've seen it on my Instagram or Facebook or however you follow me, I went as Buster Keaton, specifically Buster Keaton from Sherlock Jr. I wanted to have a Buster Keaton face mask, but unfortunately it didn't arrive on time. It actually arrived this weekend. But I've got pictures on that, and I'm really proud of what I was able to do in a relatively quick order. I think I ordered everything inside of like 2 weeks of the convention. So the fact that I was able to get everything here and get ready was really wonderful, and it was great to be able to cosplay again. It's been too long, and it was something that I genuinely enjoyed doing this year. And even though nobody really said much of anything, I think part of it is, the fandom for Buster Keaton at Dragon Con is probably not as strong as it would be other places. But the fact is, it's like one of the things about one of the things about the costume is that it's very, and one of the things that I like about it, and one of the things I plan on building off of it on are, it's very versatile. There's a lot of different things that I can do. There's also Batman variation I was going to work on, but I didn't really get a chance to bring that out based on what we did on Friday. And but these are things that are basically going to be a process over the next year or so before the next Dragon Con. And I'm looking forward to. I'm really excited about what the Batman variant for my Buster Keaton costume is going to look like. Got some really good ideas on continuing that, and as well as just and I think if I'd had the Buster Keaton face mask, it would have made it a little bit more obvious that it was Buster Keaton. But I mean, honestly, one of the things that's nice and one of the things I said about the costume to some of our friends is that like it's very versatile. I can use some of this in steampunk. I can use some of this. It could just be like an old west bartender or something like that. And there are a lot of different potential things there. So definitely be on the lookout for me next year as Buster Keaton, and as well as some other characters that I'm going to be working on throughout the year. So we went to the vendor. We went to vendor Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we did fairly well as far as we limited spending this year, and part of that was just because there wasn't a whole lot that we really saw that we overly wanted, but it was good to be able to it was good to be able to just walk through the vendor halls and just really not worry about congestion in terms of down each of the lanes and the different rows. That was really nice, and we were able to just sort of look at different things and sort of take things slow. And we basically did that until about 11:30 or so. So about an hour and a half before we went over to the Marriott Atrium ballroom for a panel with Matthew Lewis and Bonnie Wright from the Harry Potter series. They played Neville Longbottom and Jenny Weasley, respectively, and it was we only did 4 panels this year, and honestly, I'm actually kind of excited. I'm actually kind of glad about that. One of the things like I said, I like the fact that we kept it relatively easy and relaxed this year as we went by. And that panel was really, really cool. It was the second time I think Matthew Lewis had been here. Was Bonnie Wright's first time. They were pretty game for questions asked by the audience, and they both had some really interesting answers, and it was interesting to learn more about what they're sort of doing on the other side of Harry Potter. And as it's been 20 years, and it's funny because a bit of a story that, it was actually for the first Harry Potter that my wife and I first were hired for our respective jobs at the movie theater that we met at. And so 20 years later, we are officially, we are married. We wouldn't have known each other without Harry Potter. So that was something. As we got a chance to talk to Bonnie Wright and Matthew Lewis, we brought that up, and they both really appreciated that throughout the week, because we also did a photo session with both of them, as well as getting autographs from both of them. On Friday, we didn't do too much in terms of the Walk of Fame. We did, I think we basically got to look around and to see what it was like this year, and we basically kind of seeing where everybody was. But I did get a chance to meet Anthony Rapp, and I asked him about what was like working with Chris Columbus on Rent compared to his first film, which was Adventures in Babysitting, and Anthony Rapp's in both of them. It was really interesting. Him talking about, obviously Chris Columbus is more assured of a filmmaker, on Rent versus Adventures in Babysitting, but also, it was there's also a love of music that is there with Columbus that is really kind of prevalent if you think about both movies. And if you haven't had a chance to watch Adventures in Babysitting, it's a really enjoyable film. And it's always weird to see Anthony Rapp in there and realize that he would be Mark in Rent. And when I realized that, oh wow, he worked with Chris Columbus on kind of like both sides of his career there, it was really interesting. It was fun to talk to him for a little bit. After that, we ate at the Metro diner just around the con. And then we went back to the hotel. We really didn't want to push ourselves or like just stay around for the sake of staying around. There weren't really a whole lot of panels we wanted to get to this year, so that was basically sort of our ethos and this year. But it was an enjoyable one. It was one where I think, given the circumstances, given all of the circumstances, I think it was probably the best one in the long run. So Saturday was a big photo session day for us. We went back to the vendor rooms, and we got me a kilt, which Meredith has been wanting me to get for a while now, and so we finally got one. And I also started to look at like different things for some of the different variations on costumes, even though it was basically we basically did a lot of t-shirt switch outs throughout the day, because today was basically a photo op day. On Saturday, we start off with a team up of the Smallville cast that was there because they were there for 20 years of Smallville. Then continued with my right, so we both got on Harry Potter shirts. Matthew Lewis was later in the day, so we had to switch back into the Harry Potter shirts. Next up was Zachary Levi photo session, which he's one of my wife's favorite actors, if not her favorite actor, and he's always enjoyable. And we actually got Chuck t-shirts. She got Buy More shirt, and I got Nerd Herd shirt, and we wore those, and he really enjoyed that. And after Zachary Levi, we stopped off at the Walk of Fame again to get a couple of autographs. My right, Zachary Levi, and DJ Qualls actually was there, and Meredith got his autograph. And then we went back down, and we got Gigi Edgley's a photo op with Gigi Edgley from Farscape, which we had just finished watching with our friends Ian and Laura, who go Dragon Con, and we were able. I'm very grateful we were able to get photo ops for both sets of us, with all four of us, and Gigi was up for it, and it was really wonderful. It was the start of a very fun and unforgettable night for us, and that was great. Ian and Laura dressed up as Crichton and Aaron, and Meredith and I had shirts of Dargo and Chiana, who is Gigi's character, and so they went. Ian and Laura actually went to get our pictures autographed from her, while we had a photo session with Matthew Lewis, and then we went up to the Walk of Fame to get Matthew Lewis's autograph, as well as we also got talked to Felicia Day, who I have seen at pretty much all of the Dragon Cons I've been to, starting with 2009, and she's always been a great fixture. My wife has gotten into Supernatural, which is part of the reason why she wanted to go say hi to DJ Qualls, and Felicia Day was on there, so that was one of the things we were able to talk to her about, and it was really great. We did go to one panel today, and it was Dragon in My Soul world premiere with Gigi Edgley, and it's basically a premiere of a music video that she directed of a song of her brother's, and I did not know this until the panel that she's really started again to Twitch as well and YouTube and different projects, and she had a lot of her creative team on the music video with her, so it wasn't just her, and that was something I really appreciated, and I also appreciated the fact that she had her husband there as well as their daughter, and it was really lovely to have moments, sort of unscripted moments of the daughter running up and down and it was really a sweet touch to what was a very personal panel, and something that I really appreciated. It's one that was really enjoyable, and afterwards Ian actually we got a big picture of all of us with the crew, and they actually invite us to go to dinner with them. And so we went to dinner with Gigi and her collaborators at one of the restaurants in the Hilton, and it was absolutely wonderful. And we learned a bit more about the music video and the process of making the music video, and it was absolutely terrific. And it was an experience that we will never forget. And it's one of those only at Dragon Con experiences that just makes that con so worthwhile. Sundays start off with a panel with Zachary Levi, who is always fun on panels, and he basically just controls the room. And it's always entertaining to listen to him talk, and really personal to hear him talk about his mental struggles with mental health, and how passionate he is about that. And that's one of the things I really appreciate about him. And it was a good way to start a Sunday. We went back to the Walk of Fame. We got some more autographs, and then we went to the vendors for a little bit. I got a couple more things. I got some pops. I got a few more things of steampunk sort of type things that I'm kind of interested in working out. And then we had a photo session with Emily Swallow and Omid. I apologize, I can't pronounce his name. He was the doctor in The Mandalorian, and Emily Swallow's the armorer. And we had a photo session with them. They were our only photo session of the day. And it was nice to do that. We did that. We got their autographs for it afterwards. And I think that was basically about it for the Walk of Fame for us. We basically just decided to head back to the hotel after that and just take it easy the rest of the night. And then Monday, today, we got up. We had a 10 a.m. Panel for The Mandalorian with Emily Swallow. It was a nice panel. It was really fun. Somewhat disappointed that somebody brought up Gina Carrero as a question for Emily, as if Emily would know a whole lot about that. She did speak well of Gina, and I think she answered the question about as well as she could have under the circumstances, but I personally would have preferred that just not be brought up at all. It's just not. I don't know that was necessarily anything that anybody really was there to hear about, and certainly, certainly from somebody who unfortunately has not been, who was only in a handful of episodes and season 1 and wasn't in season 2 a whole lot. Hopefully she'll be back in season 3 because the armor is a really terrific character. And then that was it. We came back home, and it was good to have a very laid back Dragon Con, and I really appreciated that. And I appreciate everything Dragon Con did to try to keep people safe. I appreciate everything fellow con-goers did to try to keep us safe and everybody healthy. I know there were some issues. Unfortunately, I followed the Facebook groups, but otherwise, I think it was a good laid back Dragon Con, and I think that's kind of what I needed and kind of what a lot of us needed. I will say the attendance cap probably spoiled a lot of us, myself included. I do think that the attendance will go back up. I hope that Dragon Con doesn't do it all at once. I hope that they will build up the attendance to what it was and sort of let it happen naturally as much as they can, while still, just sort of raise the cap a little bit of like what types of passes can be purchased and all of that. That's what I want to see in the years going forward from this year. I don't necessarily want to see Dragon Con become an ultra exclusive one, even though this was a very nice and relaxed one. But I don't want to see it go back next year to just being an absolute weekend of chaos and trying to beat crowds somewhere. I don't necessarily want to see that right away. That's it for my thoughts on Dragon Con 2021. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Sonic Cinema Podcast. I've got a lot coming up with the rest of the year, including the coming up is especially going to be the next chapter in my Established Classic series. I hope you enjoyed that. For now, this is Brian Scuttle. Thank you for checking me out on Twitch, on Patreon, at the Sonic Cinema Podcast, wherever you listen to that, as well as www.sonic-cinema.com. Thank you very much.